What's going on with Mikko Rantanen? Just one goal in his first 7 games since the Canes acquired him from the Avs, and quite frankly, he hasn't looked anything like the Rantanen we saw while he was wearing an Avs jersey. To speak to that, here's Pierre LeBrun. Pierre, when the Canes made the deal, clearly they wanted to sign him to an 8-year extension. Is that still the plan, or what is the plan now?
Yeah, Gino, that is absolutely still the plan. And let's back up for a moment. I think part of the unusual layer to all this is that Mikko Rantanen gets to Carolina after a trade that completely blindsided him. He did not see that coming. And then plays a few games, and then there's a Four Nations break where he goes to play for Finland. So it's not been a sort of a normal adjustment period for a player, getting to know his new teammates. I will say that. But in the interim, here's what I can tell you has happened. One, the Hurricanes during the Four Nations had a Zoom call with Rantanen and his agent Andy Scott of Octagon, where I'm told they really made their strongest pitch. He had a real detailed pitch about, what they're willing to pay him, about their vision for the team, how he fits in, and all that jazz. And what has transpired since is that basically Mikko Rantanen needs time to mull things over, and not just about the contract itself, as it was explained to me in the last 24 hours. It's kind of like 2 phases, Gino. Phase 1 is, what does Mikko Rantanen ultimately think about Carolina as an organization, as a team, and as a place to live long term? Phase 2 is, okay, let's talk contract. I'm told he's still in phase 1. He's still trying to figure out and get his bearings and understand if this is where he wants to stay. By the way, the answer to phase 1 may absolutely be yes, but I'm told he's not there yet. He just needs more time, and whether or not he gets through phase 1 or phase 2 before March 7th, the trade deadline, Gino, is to be determined. And that's what has fueled a lot of speculation over the past 5-6 days. What will Carolina do if Rantanen is not signed to an extension? I can say this. I think some people have put the speculation ahead of where things are. I have no evidence that Carolina has actually reached out to a single team to say, are you interested in Mikko Rantanen? There are teams for sure that have phoned to say, hey, if this guy ends up not signing, let us know if you decide to do something. Some of that has happened. But as of today, Gino, the plan from Carolina's perspective, as far as I can tell, is absolutely to be patient, to try and sign him and to keep him. And by the way, they may very well keep him as a rental, given that the Eastern Conference is so wide open. I mean, what if they win a cup with him and he walks? Who cares, right? It will have been worth it. But the fly in the ointment, as you can imagine, is that they have an owner in Carolina, and Tom Dundon, who, is a wild card in all this. Because if he gets frustrated that he hasn't been able to sign Rantanen by March 7th, who knows what he may or may not instruct his front office to do. And that's why that speculation is out there. But right now, the plan for Carolina is still to try to sign him.
And that's what makes it a really interesting debate, because that frustration sometimes leads for some dramatic moves. All right, on a vastly different level, the Habs are also trying to make a decision on the future of their own pending unrestricted free agent, Jake Evans. This has been a long, drawn-out process, Pierre. Where are we on that front?
Yeah, I checked on it today, and what I was told is that it's status quo, which is to say that following up on what I reported on Super Bowl Sunday on February 9th, both sides remain far apart. Neither side has moved. There's not been any progress since then, so they are exactly where they were a couple of weeks ago, just before the Four Nations break, which again just leads to more speculation that the Habs will end up moving Jake Evans, who's a pending UFA, before the March 7th trade deadline. Now, again, as I always like to say, as Bob McKenzie taught us, it just takes one phone call to change either side in that contract stance. But as of right now, all signs point towards a trade, and I know that the Habs have talked to teams here over the last few days on that front. Where it gets interesting to me, because the Habs have a lot of draft picks from the last few years, as you know, Gino. So I don't think they're interested in getting a 3rd-round pick or a 4th-round pick for Jake Evans. That doesn't move the needle for them. They might as well just keep him and try and stay in a playoff race, which they're on the outside of right now. The odds are very long that they can make it back. But so teams have been told, don't waste our time. I mean, he makes $1.7 million on the cap, which is really attractive to contenders who don't have a lot of cap space. I think the low bar, I think the threshold is second round pick at worst for Montreal on a Jake Evans deal. So teams have to step up. Here's the other thing, and I'll give credit to Arpin Basu, my colleague at The Athletic, who also works the TSN Habs broadcast for us at Intermission. He came up with this, and I think it's absolutely legitimate. Could the Habs package Yoel Armia and Jake Evans, the two penalty-killing buddies who are both pending UFAs, could they package them together to augment their trade return? And that is something that I believe the Habs have given some thought to. And so let's keep an eye on that, because that could be, that could be something different if both guys get dealt in the same deal. So food for thought, but as it stands right now, it doesn't look like, Jake Evans will finish the year in Montreal.
There's a lot going on below the surface. An early look at trade talk on the day. The full version of Insider Trading with Pierre, CJ, and Dregs is coming up on the early edition of SportsCenter.